to be here with you. I'm going to talk about an approach to education that we use at the TUMO Center for Creative Technologies. TUMO is an after-school program, a very innovative one that works at the intersection of technology and design. It's free of charge. Started in Armenia, where it's expanded nationally, but is now extended to many parts of the world. It's a blend of self-learning activities leading into group projects within workshops across 14 different skill areas, which I'll talk about. And these are the areas in question. So they cover not only what are often called STEM subjects like computer programming, AI, robotics, etc., but also filmmaking and graphic design and motion graphics, game development. And that blend is very important to achieve the outcomes we're looking for, both in terms of soft skills, but also giving enough choice so that people can navigate the curriculum the way they want to. This is a key piece of software. We call it the TUMO Path, that plays an important role in generating personal learning plans individually for each and every student that are personalized to them and that evolve based on how fast they're going, what their preferences are, how they're changing over time, and also what's available in terms of workshop capacity. So the circles you see are self-learning activities that are prerequisites for entering these month-long workshops. Now, our approach we call walk-away pedagogy, and it's about asking the question, what will schools look like if kids should just walk away without consequences? How would they have to change so kids keep coming back? Because kids they may hate to study, but they do love to learn, as we always say. And this approach works really well, objectively now, because after 10 years or 12 years of operation, we worked up the courage to ask Dalberg to do an impact assessment, an external assessment of TUMO student life outcomes. I won't go into all the details. You can find it on the Dalberg website if you Google Dalberg TUMO. But one of my favorite results is that the top left one, which is that kids perform better in school, even in subjects like math that we don't teach, just by virtue of having been at TUMO for a year or more. And so we compared students who had entered TUMO just recently, a week ago, to students who had been with TUMO for over a year. And the difference in performance in school was quite significant. But they also, of course, do well in university. They're much more likely to be in tech. They make more money than the cohort, et cetera. This is our name-dropping slide. These people have made the pilgrimage to Yerevan, Armenia, to see TUMO. And their positive kind of evangelism, their evaluation of TUMO has helped us expand internationally, among other things. And so now we are in multiple countries around the world, starting with Europe, now also in Asia and the US, and expanding across Armenia at the national level, but across the world as well. And we don't yet have a location in India, but we're trying very hard to change that. This is an example of a center. This is the one in Paris. This is in Kiev. Now it's gone online, but hopefully we'll come back. This is another major center in Armenia. And these are examples of TUMO hubs. And even though Armenia is a developing country, these are very underprivileged kids, many of them. The spaces we create are meant to be spectacular, to give them to challenge them to dream big and to think outside the box and so on. But then this is a part of Armenia, this map, and it shows how we're trying to cover all of the nation. But as we go to villages, we can't have these major centers. It doesn't make sense. There's too few kids. And so we came up with this idea of the TUMO box, which is 3 recycled shipping containers put together into a lightweight classroom that we can deploy very quickly in any rural environment or small town. And it's very effective in that it creates a hub and spoke relationship between the village and the nearest major TUMO hub. But it also, as soon as it's deployed, starts making kids dream big just because it's this alien object that's interesting and has computers inside. Of course, like everybody else, we've been, for the past 2 years, very focused on AI, developing a number of programs across AI. We were lucky to win the tools competition, which is one of the major tech competitions in the US. We won in the highest category, which further funded our AI development process. And we're developing an AI coach that complements our human coaches in helping the kids navigate the curriculum. Of course, we infused AI into all our learning areas, our skill areas. So when you do filmmaking, you're doing filmmaking also using Runway and other AI tools. When you're doing coding, you're using Copilot, etc. But we also came up with this new vertical, this new skill area that we call generative AI. And that's quite an ambitious entry into AI as a topic on its own and in a multimodal, multidisciplinary way. And our work in developing the curriculum for the AI vertical made us a finalist at the WISE Prize. And this is important to us because it gives us a financial boost, but also gives us a lot of visibility across the world. And so by the end of this year, we'll be one of the finalists vying for the big prize for our AI curriculum. So our self-learning activity model is based on these small 2-hour exercises that try to teach you one concept or tool in a way that's very effective and that can be done autonomously. What we've introduced is this idea of co-learners. So when the student is going through and trying to debug code or learn the concept of loops and programming and so on, there are 1 or 2 other co-learners who are AI agents, bots, at least one of whom is very weak, so always needs help and is making mistakes. So by virtue of having the student help this other student, the virtual student, or witnessing how they help each other, the learning process becomes very effective. At the level of workshops, I won't go into too much detail, but one of the more ambitious ones is about creating agents and playing a game of, I think what's called here a Chinese whispers game, where you create some piece of art, some text, etc., that your friend's bot modifies and passes on to the other, etc., as a way of learning how to work with APIs, for example. And finally, we have something called project labs. This is one example where students work with Armenian manuscripts. Armenia has very ancient writing system and manuscripts that they developed basically an OCR using machine learning. So they coded ML from scratch in order to be able to digitize and archive these monuments from the Manuscript Museum of Armenia, which became a real resource for researchers and so on. And so as we think about AI and in a student-centered, learner-first kind of perspective, we're thinking that we're talking about the consumer, first and foremost, that's inevitable. But we want them to be sophisticated consumers. We don't want them to be victimized or vulnerable or just naive, but understand what they're consuming, how bots work, what misinformation looks like, etc. But stopping there would be stopping too soon. We also want them to be makers, engineers. So we want those who are so inclined to be able to gain the on-ramp that will put them in a career to build AI systems. And perhaps most importantly, we want them to be innovators. In other words, we want our students to be able to use AI confidently to create stuff and to kind of define their relationship with AI on their own terms. And so often we see programs that are either working at the literacy level, bias, misinformation, et cetera, or trying to create the engineers of the world, which are both very important, but there's a whole gap in the middle which we're trying to fill of making kids into AI super users. And the example we like to give in Armenia, and I could transpose it to an Indian context, is AI is not going to steal your job. It's some Indian teenager who's an AI super user who's going to steal your job, and that's our goal. So that was it in the short version. Thank you very much And if any of you visit Armenia, we'd like to show you Tumo. But failing that, we'd like to bring Tumo to India so you can see it in person. Thank you.